What's up, everybody? We are going to get started here in about 5 minutes. I'm going to do a few shout outs and then we'll get started. I hope everybody's doing well. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure you share this video. I don't know why it says it's been 2 minutes, because it definitely has not been 2 minutes, but what's up, Natalie? How are you doing? Planet Mushy, what's going on? Poly Z Gaming. Nizar G, First Light. I take your word for it. Can't see him. Ruby, you had a baby yesterday? Oh man, congratulations. Wow, that baby's birthday is gonna be you're gonna have a lot of stories to tell them on their birthday when they get older. I hope the baby is healthy and lives a long and an amazing life. I'm sure you'll be an amazing father. I mean, you do watch this show, so I can at least know that your child's gonna be pretty damn smart when it comes to politics. But I'm doing good, Nat. I'm doing very, very well, all things considered. I don't have COVID, and I'm not dead. So, like, that's two things apparently that black people should be happy if they don't have to deal with. So Lucky Sport. So once everything is burned down, where will people work and live? Really? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Black people will live exactly where they have been living, because, well, it's not their communities they're burning down. I mean, if I'm being honest. I mean, since we're asking dumb questions like everything's gonna be burned down. ICE is all over Los Angeles. Of course they are. Of course they are. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit. You don't think that ICE is going to use this as an opportunity to fill up those private, private detention centers, where they're getting paid over $250 per person per day to fill it up, regardless of whether or not those people are actually undocumented, while they're verifying all the information? Come on, look, we're gonna talk about that too. Urban Korea, nice hairstyle. Looking for, appreciate it. Thank you very much, my friend. I just got it done a couple days ago. That long hair was getting, it's hot, y'all. It's hot in Miami. Lord, baby Jesus, is hot. Having long hair in your face all day is not conducive to a comfortable day for you. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. I'm going to be sharing my firsthand experience. And also, I'm talking about Fiorella's experience. Fiorella and Johnny both, which we will, I think they're going to be going live later on today to talk about it too. So their story is insane. You won't even believe it. It's that bad. It's bad. It's really bad. Kills the whole narrative. Like, I know that we'll talk about it during the show. Don't worry, we're gonna get to all of it. I don't want to give away the goods. Donna Bernstein from Olympia. Can I bring Fear Johnny out? We're gonna try to schedule something this week for sure. It's just that with everything going on, it's kind of hard to get us coordinated at the moment, but we're gonna work it out, because this is crazy. That's all I can say about it. It's crazy. I'm like, it's funny because as soon as Johnny really does his very first video, like where he's on camera instead of being the producer. He gets arrested less than a week later. I'm like, bro, what the hell? Is it just a thing for the MTSU network? As soon as you get in front of the camera, your day is numbered. You're getting arrested. So it happened to Pasta, it happened to Fee, and now it's happened to Johnny. All right. All right. All right, people. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the show. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. We have a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now. As most of you all know, the protests have been in full effect for the last couple of days, and the protests spread from Minnesota all the way to Miami, New York, back in the town I used to stay in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which just kind of really caught me off guard because people in Fayetteville have generally just not been known to be protesters. Things are changing apparently, and it's crazy because as I'm listening to people like, oh man, these people are just, all of them are paid agitators. Now I'm like looking at my friends that I grew up with, black men and women that are out there I'm just, honestly, I was just kind of impressed because they usually don't care. I'm being honest with you. They usually do not care all that much. They care, but because of the way that society is set up, they never really get to go out and engage in protests the way they did. And yet this is where we're at now. Small towns, big towns, little towns, metropolitan areas, people are engaging in civil disobedience to varying degrees. And of course, as expected, police officers are responding. Now, over the course of the next couple of days, we'll be providing various analyses about what I feel about specific instances regarding this issue and riots of this weekend and probably the riots that are to come, because there's more protests that are scheduled today. But today what I want to focus on is what I saw in Miami and what happened to Fiorella and Johnny of the Convo Couch in Los Angeles. So to make a long story short, I had to walk up the highway because traffic got so bad that everybody was stuck because protesters were out there, right? The protesters that I saw were peaceful, you know, no more than yelling. That's what most protesters should be doing at this point. No issues. I walked through several crowds, threw up my fists a bunch. I even walked past, because I live right near it, the police department, which is actually where the Metropolitan Police Department, which is where the main protesters were at. There were people who had brought their children out there and were protesting with them. There were nurses that had just gotten off of work who were out there in their scrubs protesting in Miami. There were a lot of black people, a lot of the Latin community came out and supported. A lot of white students came out and supported, but there wasn't a lot of them, but it's just because of the area. And overall, I was just kind of like impressed and really surprised. If anything, I was really surprised because the narrative that I had seen across the country, that it wasn't merely protesting, there was rioting and destruction, and that's what's garnered the response from police officers that we have been basically seeing on videos and things like that. However, as I'm walking back with my wife to go back to my neighborhood, this is a pretty long walk. Went all the way from Midtown back to downtown, and this is several miles, 4 or 5 miles total walking. And you could kind of feel the tension growing, but it wasn't tension from the protesters, to be clear. It wasn't any type of physical advancement of the protesters. It wasn't like the protesters were getting in the police officer's face. Mind you, if there was an opportunity to do it, it probably would have been more suitable for the Miami protesters to do it than it would be in maybe Los Angeles or New York and several of these other places, because the police officers that I saw were actually not in riot gear at first. As we're walking back, the sun is going down. You could feel that there was something going on. I looked to my wife and I said, we got to get home because it's about to pop off. They're about to. There are a lot of people who like to use the dark as cover for heinous acts. The Miami PD is no exception to this rule. As people were peacefully protesting, as people were peacefully walking, peacefully marching, were they holding up the highway? Yeah, it's kind of how protests happen sometimes. Martin Luther King found it effective, and hey, he was one of the ones who helped desegregate the entire country. So clearly it's effective. They were not hurting anyone. I cannot stress this enough. There are no buildings broken, no cars destroyed, no nothing. I was literally walking in the middle of it. Nothing happening as far as violence is concerned. But I begin to see cops pulling out their masks, their gas masks, and putting their gas masks on. Like all of them that we were seeing. My wife sees them pulling out batons when no one threatened them. As we're walking and it's getting darker and darker, you start seeing the amount of police officers and cop cars increase, despite there being really no increase in the amount of protesters that were present. We get back to my apartment. The moment that we're back, which was super coincidental, there was apparently an explosion. One car was destroyed, a car that was right under the bridge where the protesters were at. Mind you, there were cops there that entire time. I know because I walked over the bridge and saw them there, and I walked back. I had to walk back under the bridge to get home and saw them there. My wife was stuck on the highway. She saw them there. She drove past them in an Uber and saw them there again. They were under their monitoring situation, obviously. But all of a sudden, there were, at least according to the reports, there were no cops, and then the car exploded. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, all of a sudden that must have meant that everything went to hell and everything got crazy. No, like I said, there was no buildings that were destroyed. Zero. No cars that I've seen, or not that I've seen any reports of, have been destroyed. Nobody was hurt. No cop was harmed. If you find videos somewhere here in Miami of people attacking the cops, that would be interesting to see, considering I was literally walking through the protests from the time they started damn near until they ended, because we had to get home. So that would be interesting to see if you could find that video. But that never happened. Essentially, it never happened. There was no violence on behalf of the protesters, except for this one instance, because everybody knows when you're thinking about rioting, you say you put out an announcement to all the protesters across the country or across the community in the riots. Hey, everybody! Today, when we're rioting, we have a limit. We have a stop limit of one vehicle. Okay. One vehicle worth approximately like $12,000. No more than that, okay? But no less, because we still want to make an impact. We want people to pay attention. We can't, destroy a hoopty. Got to be like a Mini Cooper or something like that. But that's basically what they're trying to convince us. I don't know if the cops were actually involved in that personally. But I do know that we've seen videos all over the country of the cops trying to pretend to be protesters. There's a video we're covering later on of a cop literally walking by and smashing windows in businesses. So one car goes off. Of course, what a coinky dink. The moment a car explodes, nothing else happens. But one car explodes. The mayor was able to use that as an excuse to enact a curfew. All of a sudden, riot gear. Immediately. Tear gas. Immediately. Like I just said, there were people out there with their kids. But cops don't discriminate when it comes to that type of stuff. Now do they? They were telling the local news they were going to get arrested if they didn't leave. The local news was literally covering it. I think it was live, if I'm not mistaken. They were like, the cops are telling us that we have to leave, that we're not allowed to be out, even though they're media. Here's my thing. Unless anyone was charged, which I guess we'll find out in the next 2 days how many people were charged. Unless anyone was charged with violent acts. And it had to be quite a few of them, by the way. You can set a curfew all you want to, but if I am exercising my First Amendment right to assemble, and especially in a public place, if I'm exercising my First Amendment right to protest, there is no curfew that you can enact that I have to follow. If I am not breaking any laws. You know, I mean, you just get to invent a new one just because you got a pen and paper in a political office. But essentially, that car explosion, which to my knowledge and everybody else who lives here so far, like I said, things may change in the next 2 days. Who knows? But I was literally there. No violence whatsoever. That one car explosion, the only accident or incident of violence in the entire night, prompted tear gas, prompted a curfew at 10 a.m. and prompted the infringement of our First Amendment right to assemble and protest. 10 p.m., excuse me. So, what am I supposed to make of that, people? Do you genuinely believe that rioters, if the violent people that just absolutely deserved a curfew, came to the city, came downtown and destroyed one vehicle and then left? I mean, this was like a big deal, bro. The whole city was focused on this one vehicle. All the news stories of this one. Oh, snaps. Because there was nowhere else to look. There was nothing else to focus on. If there was, trust me, news crews, the truth is, especially local news, unfortunately, they chase damage. They chase controversy. If there was a story to be chased down, especially given how small that area is, everything is walking, the mall is walking distance, to the clubs that are walking distance, to the bars that are walking distance, to the police department that's walking distance, to the condominiums that are walking, all of it's in walking distance. The shopping centers, everything. But all the media, all the local media was focused on this one vehicle. The one vehicle that sparked curfew and police violence. Really? Really, people? I just don't believe the protesters did that. I don't. These were, I would say about, when I say kids, I mean like college students. About 80% of them were kids. A lot of them were adults. Some of them with adults there with their kids. Some of them, very few of them, were older, maybe in their 45, 50 range. These are kids who live literally they lived there, which is partially explains this idea of quote unquote outside interference, which is a whole different discussion. But they live around there because they got apartments for that college, and they have to live out their lease, and they just happen to be downtown with nothing to do. College is mostly out, so they don't have college campuses to organize on anymore, right? Can't go there. So guess what they can do with their free time now? What they're gonna do? Go to work? With 40% of the country unemployed? So these kids aren't about to go and destroy their apartments and the McDonald's they go to, that they're about to go to as soon as, you know, the curfew is, before the curfew is up. They're like, man, I'm hungry, protesting is exhausting, I'm gonna go to McDonald's. Let me destroy it real quick though. Let me order my burger before you destroy it. No, that's not what happened. They're not gonna destroy their apartment buildings. They live there. They literally live there. Their cars are parked in that same area, so they're not about to go around destroying cars. So now what? So who was it? And how did none of the cops see the one person who committed violence if it was literally one person? And why is it that there's a citywide curfew? All of Miami-Dade was on curfew. For those of you who don't understand what that means, Miami-Dade, from the top of Miami-Dade to the bottom of Miami-Dade, or from the east of, all the way east of Miami-Dade, all the way west, probably a 30 to 45 minute drive without traffic, depending on which way you take. We are a big ass city, people. But this one car explosion caused the entire city to be on lockdown. It's a good excuse, huh? It's almost as if sacrificing one innocuous vehicle could preempt any damage from actual protesters that could be done. You know, because it's more important to protect property than people. Everybody knows that. No, nothing. Nothing was destroyed. Did we miss something, babe? We miss anything? Did you see? Okay, so I'm making sure with my wife. We didn't miss anything. There was nothing destroyed. There was one car that was destroyed. One car. Everybody on lockdown because of one car, and the cops, surprise, surprise, didn't see who it was. But now, if they would have actually been doing their job, because like I said, me and my wife both saw at 2 different times of the day, and at the same time when we were walking together, cops were guarding that specific location the entire afternoon. And out of nowhere, the cops are gone, and oh, a bomb drops in a car, and oh, by the way, no cops were there to catch them. Huh? Well, my wife's saying she doesn't think the cops ever left the area. Well, at least, they couldn't have left the area because that's like the police department. But that way, once again, bringing the question, how the hell did somebody just throw something like that and you don't see them? Come on. But it was a really convenient excuse. I want to point your attention over to Los Angeles, because while this was going on over here in Miami, some more tomfoolery was going on in Los Angeles, where Fiorella and Johnny Tsunami, camera guy extraordinaire, producer of the Convo Couch, they were out there actually as media yesterday. And to make sure, because in this situation, they both understood how important it was to make a distinction, because when they're out there protesting and doing their activism thing, they're out there. But when situations like this, they understood the importance to make a distinction between themselves as media and themselves as activists. And yesterday was very important, especially because they're both people of color. They made sure to wear their press passes They made sure that they had their professional equipment with them. They made sure to let the cops know they would press. So there shouldn't have been any issue. Yeah, you would think that, right? Except for Fiorella and Johnny were leaving in their car to go home, people. You know, of course, rocks are the roads are blocked in different areas, so cops are directing traffic, right? They're trying to leave in the way that that they were told to leave, but a cop is directing traffic. Says, no, you have to go back this way. You got to go back this way. Every single car that went back the other way was trapped and surrounded by police officers, and all of them were arrested. Yes, including Fiorella. Yes, including Johnny. And the only reason that they were not taken to jail is because, well, the jails had gotten too full. Now, what did they do? Nothing. They said that Johnny was guilty of resisting arrest. But you know what that means. In case y'all don't know, Johnny's of a darker hue, although they're both, he and Fiorella are both Peruvian. Johnny looks more indigenous. And of course, Johnny was the one charged with resisting arrest. Now, if you get somebody resisting arrest, you can look into their background and call in a few favors to figure out if they're supposed to be in this country or not. So of course, Fiorella informed me that it took much longer for Johnny to be finished and uncuffed than it took for Fiorella. They were literally leaving. They were leaving. Now, I see a lot of people out there who are pushing this narrative that rioters and looters and protesters are the problem. They're the violent ones. You know, we gotta protesting and all this stuff isn't the answer. And I don't condone violence, but I'm not going to tell black people who are literally just they're in constant angst and turmoil. We're constant. I mean, I live it every day. You become numb to it until certain things trigger you, but I live it every day. Whenever people enter the elevator, if it's a white woman especially, I adjust myself accordingly. If I'm walking by cops, I instinctually adjust myself accordingly. I check myself, make sure I'm good. When I'm driving past the cops, I roll up my window, which I have tinted specifically so that cops do not know I'm black when I'm driving by. This is life, and a lot of us have come to accept it for what it is. However, I'm not going to blame rioters for rioting. Because at the end of the day, well, when we were being killed, when we were being discriminated against, when y'all are justifying a man getting shot by two citizens, two white men, guarding a construction site that they were never asked to guard, where nothing was ever stolen, and those two guys were never arrested, or excuse me, they were eventually arrested, but then of course, you got to ask, why the hell weren't they arrested on the scene? Because if they had killed a white woman, yeah, they would have been charged. But also, they would have never brought a gun to the scene if there was a white woman at the construction site, huh? When you see George Floyd on that ground, how could you possibly feel safe? It is more than a matter of the disproportionate executions of black men by police officers. And by the way, I mean, if people want to try to throw out statistics, tell them to please come find me, because I would love to have a conversation with them. Because everybody likes to throw out these ridiculous, look at in the United States where there's more white people killed by cops. Well, yeah, y'all make up like almost 90% of the country. I feel like that should probably go without being said. But also, Was that like an almost completely and totally white community? Probably poor community. Yeah. Now let's go look at the statistics in the communities of color. Let's go look at the statistic in Southside Chicago, or Chicago in general, for that matter. Let's go look at LA, and let's check in at LAPD. Let's go look at into Miami and the way they abuse Haitians and Black Cubans. Let's go look at how the cops treat those people in those communities. Because, yeah, by that logic, I could actually say, well, I don't understand why white people are not treated disproportionately by police officers, considering that they commit the most crimes in the country. By the numbers. Even with all of the crime that has come from, communities of color that have been disenfranchised, that have had drugs thrown into it. It doesn't matter, because white people commit crimes, more crimes, by and large. Because there's more of you morons. If you want to use a statistic to justify your argument, use one with some damn context. But the problem is not the people. And anyone who's pretending like the problem is the people is full of shit. They are. That's exactly why we have riots right now. You get that? You understand that? Remember, before, the problem was Martin Luther King because he was inconveniencing too many white people of the time. Then the problem was people like Malcolm X and the people like the Black Panthers, people like Huey P. Newton, because, well, whoa, they're too extreme. Violence isn't the answer. Well, peaceful sit-ins weren't the answer either. So which one is it? Then, okay, well, let's try this. We're going to take a knee. Okay, just take a knee to bring attention to this issue. Because I understand why violent protests may not be the most welcome, okay? I also don't want to set the wrong example for young people. So I'm going to take a knee. That's all. I'm just going to take a knee. Why? Because you hate America? Is that why you're taking a knee? Because you hate the national anthem? You hate the flag? You hate the troops? Nah, I'm trying to make sure that we're bringing attention to police brutality. Nah, you hate America. That's why. Well, I'm exercising my right to free speech. I thought you would appreciate that. Oh, no. You don't get the right to disrespect the troops at your private job, on your personal time, where there were literally no rules preventing him from doing so. We tried that. Remember? Trump? Remember you attacked him for it? Instead of actually focusing on the problem that he was trying to bring attention to, you attacked him. Remember? Kaepernick? Remember that whole thing? And he was... Yeah, now I bet you wish people were still out here taking knees, huh? I bet. And you know what's crazy about all of this? If you would have listened to Kaepernick when he was taking a damn knee, you wouldn't have riots now, would you? The whole discussion, the whole argument that we're having about the legitimacy of violent, quote unquote, or nonviolent protests would be moot because, well, you would be holding cops accountable. And you would be holding cops accountable because you'd actually be paying attention to the corruption, to the way they treat minorities. And if you're paying attention and you're holding them accountable, well, then people who are protesting wouldn't feel slighted and wouldn't feel the need to protest. Now, would they? And if there's no need to protest, then people wouldn't be outside. The protests wouldn't escalate and no riots would happen. There would be zero violence. But taking a knee was the worst thing in the world. Y'all thought that Kaepernick was being so divisive by taking a knee. But it's the protesters who are the problem. It's the people who are the problem, which is kind of interesting for Trump, because if I recall, Trump was extremely, as much as, I don't know, like recently last week, he was extremely supportive of the Hong Kong protests. Liberate Hong Kong. We support the people. And let's be clear. The people in Hong Kong were violently protesting. They were violently protesting. It was not even they were assaulting old people in the middle of the street. But Trump was, yeah, you go get him. Mike Pompeo, you go get him. Ah. Oh, until them riots came to his front door. All of a sudden it's, hold up, whoa, no. We can't have that. No. These, we gotta send out the National Guard. We have to. We gotta kill looters now. Why? So you were okay with it when it was happening in Hong Kong? Literally, I wouldn't say this is the exact same thing, because this one's organic and that one's a whole different thing that I'm not going to contrive, and I don't want to get too much into it because it's involved in CIA. But this one was actually organic, which is why Trump doesn't support it. The one that was supported, which is like I said, propped up by our intelligence communities. The ones in Hong Kong, although some people may be protesting for the right reason, was largely pushed and funded by us. And that's the difference. See, Trump doesn't actually care about First Amendment rights. Trump doesn't actually care about liberating oneself from the government. Trump doesn't actually care about actually addressing institutional power and corruption. What he cares about is telling the truth 50% of the time about the Democrats, because it makes him look really good. But it also helps you completely ignore his blatant hypocrisy. All of a sudden, those people who were cheering on Hong Kong, oh, see, it's different. It's different when it's on your front doorstep, huh? It's different. You got a different feeling about it. When you want to interfere with somebody else's government and you want to cheer on somebody else's government, it's because they're protesting government tyranny. This is different. No. It's not different. That's what you don't get. And we've been trying to tell y'all that. This isn't different. Who do you think that police answer to? Because it damn sure isn't us. You think they're answering to themselves? Sometimes. But okay. So, for example, because I'm sure you all heard about this, Chauvin, the one who killed George Floyd, killed a Native American man in 2006. And Amy Klobuchar conducted an investigation that conveniently lasted all the way until she was out of office and could take her seat at the Senate and then put the pressure on someone else to prosecute him. Now, if you or I were accused of murder, literal murder, there is no grand jury to figure out whether or not we should be charged. Not grand jury to figure out if you were guilty of the crime, just a grand jury to figure out whether or not you should even be charged with the crime. If that's the damn case, if that's the standard, well then shit. Everybody should get a grand jury to figure out whether or not I actually got a speeding ticket. To figure out if I was actually speeding. Because that's how due process is. And see, due process is different for those who have institutional power and are protected by the government. Because who set up Chauvin with the grand jury instead of giving him true due process, the same due process we all get, which isn't really all that good? It was a government. It's attorney generals and DAs Those are elected officials. The elected officials kept him in power. The elected officials kept him in power, allowed from 2006. I mean, he had a litany of other problems, but just from that, he was able to get away with something in 2006 through the protection of the governmental institutions that are supposed to be here for us. And then George Floyd is now dead. It's not different. It's not. You think it's different because you want to believe it's different, because you want to believe in this idea that police institutions are here to protect us. No. Some people, very few individuals, are here to protect us. A lot of police officers, and this is coming from my police friends, are ex-military who were kicked out for mental disorders, kids who are bullied in high school and want to wield some type of authority where, once again, I mean, they were bullied, and so they want to be in the same position. So what do? You get a badge and a gun, and you make sure the other person can't bully you back when you bully them. That is essentially bullying. They can't fight back. So you want some type of, redemption because you couldn't defend yourself, so you just bully people, and you still can't defend yourself, really. People who just weren't good at shit else. They weren't good at anything else. I know, because the makeup of the police force is very, very similar to the majority of the makeup of the people in the military. And I was in it, so I know. The military is where you get ridiculed for being smart. Or excuse me, the army. I can't speak for every other branch. I know the army, it looked very similar to police departments. How do you think that we just convince people to go overseas and shoot innocent people? Very similar makeup. Bethlehem, thank you very much for the super chat. It's time to stop singing and start swinging. Malcolm X. Hey. I mean, what else is left for people? I don't understand. What did you expect to happen? It is the government protecting cops. It is also elites protecting cops. It is also the privilege protecting cops. It is also cops protecting cops. Think about it. How do you think that the police got the money to get this militarized? And not all the departments have that type of militarization. But do you know who was militarizing the police? Barack Obama. Bush did some too, but Barack Obama, y'all forget Ferguson happened under Obama. I don't know how people always forget this. People forget Tamir Rice was killed under Obama. Eric Garner was killed under Obama. He did nothing about it. Native Americans were assaulted under Obama by police officers. This is like, it's people like I have a really short memory. No, governmental institutions have been protecting police officers. It's not the people's fault. Because at the end of the day, if you want to distill the rioting into a simple understanding of why people are reacting like this, it's a simple calculus. I am unsafe. I feel unsafe. I'm screaming, I'm unsafe. I'm dying after telling you I've felt unsafe. My brothers, my sisters are dying after telling you. And by the way, it isn't just black people. It isn't just black men. Do y'all understand how women have been affected by corrupt policing? In Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I was stationed at and where I lived at through middle school and high school, in Fayetteville, North Carolina, we have the most populated military base in the country, special forces. We have Delta Force there. We have massive policing in police departments. Okay, so how exactly did Fayetteville become the #1 destination for human trafficking in the country? At least it was at one point. Somebody want to explain that to me? Why is human trafficking so rampant in the city? Well, actually, human trafficking is exponentially increased over the last 5 to 10 years. In cities that have more police than they have teachers. Do you understand how many women have been pulled over to say, we'll let you off if you cooperate? By themselves in the dark. So it ain't just black men who feel unsafe. It is everyone to a certain degree, and the degrees vary based off of your place in society. If I'm telling you I feel unsafe, the world is telling you that I feel unsafe, but you can't be bothered to be inconvenienced enough to care. Matter of fact, it goes beyond being bothered. You defend those I fear. Oh, so I can't feel safe. Okay, well, screw it then. None of us can feel safe. That's what's happening. That is what is happening. No one feels safe. Or, excuse me, a lot of people don't feel safe, and people are tired of those who are able to retreat into their money and their homes and their privilege and their positions. So they have taken it upon themselves to say, fine, no one gets to feel safe then, since my people can't feel safe. Because who's supposed to protect you? Think about it. Who's supposed to protect you if the police aren't going to protect you? And then who protects you from the police if the police are who you're afraid of? Isn't that some twisted shit? My tax dollars go to fund the police department that I am literally terrified of. Isn't that twisted? People always talk about we gotta stand, the conservatives, I mean. Communism, authoritarian regimes. Okay, we're gonna have a curfew to infringe on people's First Amendment's right. Yeah! Because we love liberty. Get those people inside and send the National Guard to silence these protesters. Property over people. That's what I always say. Huh? Do whatever you have to. See, the difference is, because everybody was about the Tea Party. See, they don't understand what about the Boss Tea Party. They didn't destroy people's homes. They just ignited an American Revolutionary War that they knew was coming by destroying governmental property. And they knew that war would result in literally everyone's lives being changed forever. And they took it upon themselves to do it. But that's different, people. Okay? They weren't fighting for black people. That's a whole different thing. Don't. That's what people have been trying. Everybody's making an excuse. They made an excuse for Trump defending Hong Kong protests and condemning these. They made excuses for people drawing the clear comparison of the Boston Tea Partyers' version of civil disobedience and what we're seeing right now, and how these same people, these same conservatives, cheer for liberty that Boston Tea Party brought about. See, but they don't know the consequences. They've never had to fight for anything. A lot of people have had a lot of their shit given to them in one form or another. A lot of people have had things fall into their lap because of who they are, where they're from, what their network was, their background, etc., etc. They've never had to literally throw up knuckles to take something for their family. I know people from the hood. You know why black on black crime was so high at one point in the 90s? And yeah, it's still high, but that's because, I mean, color on color, race on race crime is like always high. Like white people generally kill white people, black people generally kill black people, Asians generally kill Asians. Because you kill who you know. You're not gonna, if you don't see a lot of white people, I don't know how you're supposed to kill them. But do you know why? Because black people were put in such a position where their jobs were removed, taken to the suburbs, in the metropolitan areas. Their transportation was removed, put in suburbs. Their education was diminished. Their institutional education, or their ability to get that education, was diminished. Money was removed from their communities. And it was, I'm going to have to do what I have to put food on the table. And because that's our number one instinct. And so people had to fight, stab, shoot, for a corner. For a corner. Why? To put food on a table. Black people know what it's like to have their hands bloody just to put food on the table. I'm not talking about that fight where you go to a job interview, you have the same opportunity to get the job as somebody else. Black people and people of color in general know what it's like to go into a job interview and never knowing whether or not you're actually going to have an equal opportunity to get that job. In fact, you're going in there with a disadvantage, depending on the scenario. But if it's a corporate job, you're absolutely going in with a disadvantage. If your name is the wrong pronunciation, are you, my name is Niko, obviously, but y'all don't know my middle name is Deshaun. If I was Deshaun on the job applications, I may not have been so lucky. It may not be so fortuitous. All right? But my name is Niko, so it's not all that bad. Literally having to fight. I've had to fight to make sure that my siblings could not be bullied back in my neighborhood. I had to take my security. I had to take my safety. I had to fight to make sure that my mom could sleep without worrying about our house being robbed. I had to go find the people who robbed my house and put foots in them, for lack of a better phrase. Why? Because sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. And people who do not understand that sometimes to earn liberty or to win liberty, you have to earn it. And it may not be fair, but that's the way life is. People who have never had to deal with that have no understanding of what's happening right now. That's why they're so quick to point fingers. That's why they're so quick to say, well, this isn't going to work. Based off of what? Do you know how scared Lyndon B. Johnson was by the time he signed that legislation to desegregate the country? Do you know how scared Congress was? Like scared. Physically scared. They were terrified. Do you know how scared Ronald Reagan was? That's why he passed gun laws to make sure that Black Panthers and Black people in general, in California specifically, couldn't defend themselves because he knew how they were being treated. They would have been well within their rights to defend themselves. So he had to make sure that he disarmed Black people specifically in California. For all those people who love Reagan, all those conservatives, I'm a Reaganite. Why? Because one thing that Black people had in common at the time, regardless of their varying degrees of peacefulness and extremism, is that they all knew the value of having to take what is rightfully yours. Take whatever opportunity you get, earn every opportunity you get, regardless of what you have to do. I mean, and I do mean regardless of what you have to do to get that. Some people have paid the ultimate price for that. And people who have been able to hide behind their family names, their race, their gender, their money, their titles. This level of disruption and destruction is uncomfortable for those who have never had to fight for anything. Outside of, I went to college, I had a 4.4 GPA. My dad's a Vanderbilt. Can I have a job? It's not the same thing. It's not. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you go follow us on Rockfin, of course, rokfin.com/Niko. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else,
More than anything else,
More than anything else,
More than anything else.
always remember,
Find your balance.
find your balance.
find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.